And let the games begin. What's up, everyone? It's your boy Infrar-Ed. Welcome to the Scout Reports. Today I bring you an anime review of Boku No Hero Academia, Episode 5. Overall, it was a pretty quick episode. I mean, maybe it was just that good that it felt like it was only 5 minutes. But in this episode, we are finally in UA. We can finally get the ball rolling as we approach almost the halfway point. And we finally get to know some of these characters that look so awesome in the opening, but we don't know who they are yet, unless you're a manga reader like myself. So without further ado, let's get down to the breakdown. So the episode starts off showing the two separate paths that Deku and Bakugo decided to go on. We're taking a look at the results of the test as it's being looked at by the committee, and Bakugo cleared the way in points. He was number 1 overall in points. I mean, he was just wrecking the monster, just smash, using his fire abilities, and everybody is very impressed with Bakugo as he is number 1, so he has the most potential out of everybody going into UA. But he had 0 rescue points because he wasn't trying to save anybody, he was just destroying the robots. On the other side of the spectrum, you have Deku, who had 0 points as far as using his quirk ability and taking out any robots. However, he led the way with hero points as far as rescue for him putting his life on the line, saving Uraraka, and that is what got him into UA overall. So the episode starts off with Deku meeting up with All Might a day later after he found out that he made it into UA, and he's excited. He's running to All Might, and he sees him in his deflated form and just blurts out, "Hey, All Might, hey!" And All Might's like, dude, what? Calm down. I don't want nobody to know I'm All Might, man. Shut up. Hurry up. Say it was an accident. Say you had the wrong person. And what was funny about that is you see some people in the background when he screamed, they're like, "All Might, where?" And then he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I had the wrong person." And I was like, "Oh, I really did want to see All Might." So that was funny. But he meets up with All Might, and we get more information about All for One, as we found out that All Might was aware of what it would do to Deku's body. However, he was also aware that he didn't have enough time to train him in it as well, which concerned him a little bit. So he gives him a little bit of backstory. He tries to help him along as far as what he needs to do in order to use All for One, as there's no in between for Deku right now. He can either use it at 0% or he can use it at 100%, just 0 to 100 like that. There's no in between for him right now. And going into UA, he's gonna have to learn how to regulate that and find a way to get to the power that he needs without breaking his body completely. And it's also revealed that the whole purpose of All Might going to UA was he was going there to be a teacher to find his successor. Just by fate, he happened to see Deku along the streets, and that's how history was made from there. So All Might's going to go ahead and continue to train Deku because they have about 3 weeks before he has to start for UA, and they do an epic runoff as he's saying, "Come with me, my boy, as I show you what All for One is all about." And we get a little bit of foreshadowing here as All Might is explaining that he's passed the torch on to another person. But as you pass torch on, the older torch is going to wither away. We know All Might's fate right now. We know he can't use his ability for so long. We know he has that gnarly gash on his body from the attack that put him in a condition that he's in. He's constantly coughing up blood, even if it's in a comedic way. But when things like this happen, and we know how this goes in anime, you can't help but just feel sorry or just know that the worst is going to happen to All Might at some time. And I'm not going to be ready for that. I'm not. I've become really attached to All Might. I love him as a character, and when that fateful day finally comes where Deku's going to have to face down that person that probably will take out All Might, I'm just not going to be ready for that. But back to the episode. 3 weeks later, Deku's getting ready for his first day at UA, and his mom is actually happy. His mom is so proud of him. She was like, "Oh, you're so cool." And that gives him a little bit of smile on his face as he heads to school, because he's still worried because he still doesn't know how to use his quirk. And now that he is in UA, he's in class 1A, where a majority of our characters, or pretty much all of our characters, are going to come from. And the class is huge, and Deku's worried about the type of people that he's gonna run into. It's like first day jitters. Like, you know how you go to school or you start a new school and you're like, I wonder if this person's gonna be in my class or that person. The same thing here is he's wondering if he's gonna run into Bakugo again, because before we got to UA, Bakugo did rough him up a little bit. He didn't punch him or beat him up this time, but he kind of strung him up and put him up against the wall. Like, what did you do? How did you get into UA? You completely ruined my legacy, but me being the only person from this school going there, and I want to know what's up. Stay out of my way. You know, at this point, typical Bakugo. But, you know, he also met, you know, Tenya, who was kind of a stickler and was kind of chewing about in the conference about being too loud and talking and buttering. And, you know, he ran into him and had some interaction with other characters during the test as well. So as soon as he opens the door, the first thing he sees is Bakugo with his feet up on the desk. And you see Ida getting into him like, what are you doing? Get your feet off the desk. Or, this is a classroom. And then he's like, get out of my face, you side character. I mean, that's literally what Bakugo said to him. So you got these two clashing immediately. And we also find out that Bakugo and Ida were the top 2 students in the entrance exam. So you got the number 1 and the number 2 going at it already, and it was the 2 people that Deku was worried about seeing overall. And also, while he's waiting to go into class, he bumps into Ochako, who's actually happy to see him. She's like, oh, curly haired guy, you're the one that saved me, but I knew you'd get in, I'm so happy. And she's talking his ear off. But he's so nervous because he's happy to see her. He's like, wow, she looks great in that uniform. That he's nervous and excited at the same time. And he's kind of getting that jitters, like, I want to say something to her, but she won't shut up. But at the same time, I'm too scared to say anything. So while that is going on, we get our first look at our first pro teacher, Shoto Ozawa, aka Eraserhead. And we'll find out about that. As the whole time while this was going on, he was in a sleeping bag behind the characters. And he sounds exactly like how I thought he would sound. Like when I see him in the manga and how his personality is and his facial expressions, I seen him as like an older Shikamaru, and he had kind of like a lazy, laid-back voice. And that's exactly how it is. And he notices, he's like, you guys have been sitting here for about 8 minutes or 8 seconds without doing anything. That's wasting class time. So now that the band is together, we can go on and get started with the episode. Right out the bat, Shoto brings out some costumes or like bodysuits, throws them to the students and says, get dressed, first day, I got something for you. As we see All Might, he's a little bit concerned, like UA doesn't follow the regular rules that any school would go to because they're so prestigious that they can throw anything at you at any time. Their teaching structure is completely up to them. And Shoto gets right to it with saying the very first day we're having a quirk assessment test. Wow, that is not good for Deku because he still doesn't know how to use All for One. So the quirk entrance exam or the quirk assessment test is going to be a series of 7 tests that all the students must pass. See, Shoto's kind of a hard ass. He wants the students to expand their limits. You see, in middle school, they were always taught to regulate their quirks and kind of keep them in check. Versus here in UA, he wants them to go all out and wants them to go out all out as he does. As he says, there's a series of 8 tests, and whoever is dead last is out of UA. This is the first day, people, and if you fail this test, you are gone, because he feels that if you can't use your ability, then you don't have the right to be a hero, or at least not in UA. Get shipped out somewhere else and be a B-class hero or something, because we don't play that mess in UA. So the first series of tests that we're going to do is a baseball toss. And he goes on to further explains his methods by saying that hero must be ready at all times. If you feel this is unfair, the world is going to be even more unfair when you get out there. You're not going to be able to control when a villain attacks, or when you're going to have to go all out, or when your back's against the wall. So in that type of situation, you need to be in complete control of your quirk at all times and know how to use it to its maximum ability, minimum ability, or whatever the situation may call for. So the first series of tests is they have to take a baseball and throw it, and then how far they throw it is in a ranking. And since he's so awesome right now, he decides to let Bakugo go first. He's called Bakugo up, he grabs his baseball, and he uses his ability, his explosion ability, to literally rocket the baseball up into the air. And when he throws it, he goes, Shanae! shoots up in the air. He gets a whopping 70 kilometers or 70 meters. It was really far. I don't remember the exact metric, but it goes up into the air literally like a missile. And the part that's funny about this is everybody's kind of looking like, wow, that was freaking awesome. Deku was looking like, why did he say die when he threw the baseball into the air? No one concerned about this dude's intent. And that's what's great about Bakugo, is that, again, he has all of the traits of a bully character, but he's not. He just is on his own course, and deep down he wants to be the greatest hero no matter what. So with that being said, Bakugo clears the ball toss with no problems at all. Meanwhile, the kids think this is all fun and games, and again, Shota reiterates that, oh, this isn't fun. Do you understand the consequences here? If you do not pass this test, you are out of this school. Shape up, ship out, and let's get going. And again, the whole method of him, he's kind of like Kakashi, but he's Kakashi that's more of a badass, as he wants to push these kids to their very limits and not only get them familiar with their powers, but get to know what their power strengths and weaknesses are overall and help them overcome it. That's his overall goal, and that's some of the things that we're going to see in this test as we finally get introduced to some of the cast. So the next series of tests is a 50-yard dash, and we start off with Ida, who pretty much blows through the competition. When they say go, he runs through, and we get to see what his quirk is finally. His quirk is called Engine, and if you haven't noticed before, in last episodes you can see in his actual calves is like engines protruding out, and something that's going to come in handy later. You notice he's drinking something. He ain't drinking something just for his health there. He's actually drinking that for a purpose, and we'll get to that eventually. But he finishes the meter dash in about 5 seconds because of his quirk ability, because just think of him as a Flash. This was unfair for him, and Shota even looks at it like this was nothing to him. A race of speed with somebody with that type of quirk, I'm really gonna have to push this kid. So he's making his own assessments as we go along with each one. Next up is my best girl of the series, Suyu, who is the frog chick, and she does a pretty good time as well, as she was able to use her leaping ability to leap from one end to the other, and she finished not too far behind Ida with his speed with her jumping ability. Next we see Achiko, or Uraraka, and her name is very hard to pronounce, so I don't know which one I'm going to go with to make it easy. I think I'm going to go with Achiko. But she decides to use her quirk ability, which again is zero gravity, where she can take the gravity off of any object, and she decides to zero gravity her shirt, her pants, her shoes, everything that's bogging her down. And as she's running, she doesn't really do too good of a time. Well, I'm not sure what the grades everybody else is, but she finished in about 7 seconds. But because she lightened up her clothes, she said she was able to do that time a lot faster than she would have did in middle school, where she didn't have the ability to use her quirk the way she wanted to. She finishes in a decent time. The next character that we meet is Yuga, who is the kid that we saw in the test that shot the navel laser, and that's exactly the name of his quirk, is navel laser, as he turns around, faces, and shoots the laser backwards, shoot him past to the finish line. He finishes pretty fast as well with that ability, but it only allows him to go so far, and he can only shoot it for so long, as again we're getting to see the strengths and the weaknesses of these characters and what they will have to do to overcome it. As he says, he can only shoot a laser a second, so he has to shoot, wait, shoot again. He can't continuously shoot out. It'll be interesting to see if he can break that limit, or how he'll be able to get around that in certain situations if he ever gets in trouble. And last but not least, we have Bakugo versus Deku as they line up and get ready to go on a race, and Bakugo just clears him in the dust by using his flame ability to propel himself forward like kind of a car. And you just got poor Deku who's just running as fast as he can. He can't use his quirk. He doesn't know how to use his quirk, so he has the most concerns. All Might is even looking along as well, and he's wondering how Deku is going to get through this ordeal. And Bakugo jets forward. He even beats Ida's time with his ability. Our boy Bakugo finishing in like 4 seconds by shooting himself forward like a rocket. But he also finds out his limitation, as he even finds out that if he uses both his hands at the same time, it kind of degrades the strength of his ability. He's more stronger when he's using one hand at a time. So again, we're back to Deku. he's just thinking, how can I get through this, as he finished last in this race. And we're moving on to our next test, which is a series of things that, it's the jump. It's a vault jump. There were things like you had to run back and forth between 2 lanes, and we get to see some of the other characters, a test of strength, and all the other tests out of the 7, he's just failing, just all of them, miserably, because he doesn't know how to use All for One without wrecking his body. And All Might also mentions that he has to overcome this limit. He has to figure out how to do it, or everything that he worked for is going to be gone at this point. They cut back to the ball toss, and actually Ashiko got the best score because she put the ball in her hand and used her zero ability and threw it up in the air, and she just got an infinity for her grade because it would just keep going. And if she took the gravity off it and don't release, it's just going to keep going up until she lets it go, so everybody got a kick out of that. And next up to the bat, we get to see Deku, as again he is worried about how he's going to fare out in this test, and he thinks about everything he went through, about how hard he wants to get this done, how bad he wants to be a hero, and he said, I'm not going to pass the rest of these tests, so I at least got to pass one, because the criteria is you have to be last place in every competition to fail. So he thinks about it and say, you know what, I'm just going to go all out on this test, and I'm going to throw this ball as hard as he can. And as he gets ready to throw the ball, and you see All for One start to form up, or his quirks start to form up in his veins as he gets ready to do a smash, he throws it, but it doesn't go anywhere, as Shoto uses his ability, hence the name Eraserhead, to erase his quirk and stop the quirk ability from activating. So he kind of grabs Deku at this point and scolds him a little bit by saying, I'm aware of what you do. Yeah, you put your body on a line for everybody else, but your ability wrecks your body completely. And what good are you gonna be if your body is completely done and then there's nothing else you can do? Someone else is still gonna have to come in and save you. This is not how things are gonna be. You're gonna learn how to use this ability. He did this to save him in a way, as he tells him, you got 2 more tries. Get out there, control this quirk, or you're done. So we get a little bit of backstory with All Might, as well as we found out that him and Eraserhead are kind of rivals in a way, as Eraserhead doesn't like All Might. He doesn't like how he goes about himself or his feats or anything, because Eraserhead is more of a low-key stealth type of hero, versus All Might is always out there, no worries, I'm here type of person. They just clash on all types of abilities. But he also was able to notice that Deku was probably able to pass these tests and everything that he's gotten to so far, because I'm pretty sure he recognizes All Might's ability, and he saw that right away, and he knows what it did to his body. So that's why he did what he did, by erasing his quirk and making him actually earn it, which I love. It's tough, but that's what you gotta do. You can't just keep wrecking your body and then you're not gonna be able to do anything, because after a while you're gonna be the one that's helpless and someone's gonna have to save you. It's good that you have that heart, but you gotta put a little bit more into it than that. So Deku grabs the ball. He thinks about everything once again. He don't want to fail this test, and we go back to a little bit of training as we get reiterated that he can go from 0 to 100, but he has to find that medium ground. So what our boy Deku does is he grabs the ball, he starts to throw, and he activates All for One, and he starts to throw with all his might, and he's able to channel All for One and up to his pinky. He put the quirk into his pinky, shooting it forward into the air, getting 700 meters. He blew Bakugo out the way with this, with a smash. It's one finger smash, baby, as he sends the baseball flying up into the air. All Might is stoked. He's like, that's my boy. Shoto's kind of looking like, okay, so now you're learning. And he even gets a one up on Shoto as well by looking at him and saying, yeah, my finger's wrecked, but mine can still go. My body is still intact, as I was able to regulate the ability just to one part. And that ends the episode. Again, phenomenal, and every week I have to commend the music in this series because it always hits the right tones. And when he threw that ball and we got that, I think it's a staple now, that one soundtrack piece with the dun 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 dun, you know, the real hero type music. Oh man, this episode is going to be just a 13 episode feel fest. You're going to get the feels in something every episode, and this one was phenomenal. And you know our boy Bakugo is a little bit salty too, seeing how he can shoot that ball up so far, as he thought he cleared everything scot-free. So that's the episode in a nutshell. Next week, we actually get to the real fun, as everybody's going to get paired up. So next week we're going to have Team Ida versus Team Bakugo in a team versus team battle. And this is where the hype begins, and I cannot wait to get into this one. So that's it for now. Go ahead and let me know what you guys thought about the episode in the comments. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you excited for more? If you want to hear more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as I continue to bring you guys content almost daily right now. And of course, if you liked the video, once again, go ahead and drop it a like. I would really appreciate that. And as I always say, you guys can be anywhere on YouTube right now if you chose to listen to me, and I really appreciate that. So on that note, be sure to join me later as I review Re:Zero. And it's your boy Infrar-Ed with the Scout Report signing out. See you soon.